In 1971, a college student designed one of the most iconic logos in history. Her payment? $35. That's it. $35 for a logo that would appear on billions of products. A logo that would become so recognizable, the company could drop their name entirely and just use the symbol. Today, the company is worth over $90 billion. And experts estimate that the iconic logo contributes billions to that value. The company? Nike. The student? Most people have never heard her name. This is the story of Caroline Davidson, the woman who created the swoosh for less than the cost of a pair of Nikes. It was the year 1969 in the Portland State University. Caroline Davidson was a graphic design student. She'd started as a journalism major, but after taking one design class to fill an elective, she fell in love with it and switched majors. But art supplies weren't cheap. Oil paints, canvases, brushes, it all added up. And Davidson couldn't afford it. One day in the hallway, she mentioned to a classmate that she couldn't take the oil painting class she wanted because she didn't have money for supplies. Phil Knight overheard her. Knight was a young accounting professor at Portland State, but teaching wasn't his real passion. He had a side hustle, importing Japanese running shoes from a company called Onitsuka Tiger and selling them out of the trunk of his car at track meets. His company? Blue Ribbon Sports. They were just a distributor, someone else's shoes with someone else's brand. But Knight had big dreams, and he needed help. He approached Davidson with an offer, $2 an hour to make charts and graphs for his business meetings. Davidson said yes. She needed the money. Knight needed the help. Neither of them knew this chance encounter would change both their lives forever. For the next 2 years, Davidson did freelance work for Knight. Charts, graphs, advertisements, nothing glamorous, just a student making some extra cash. Then in 1971, everything changed. Knight's relationship with Onitsuka Tiger was falling apart. The Japanese company was cutting him off. If Blue Ribbon Sports wanted to survive, they needed to make their own shoes. No more importing, which meant they needed their own shoe, their own brand, and their own logo. Knight called Davidson into his office. "We need a stripe," he told her. "Something that conveys movement, something that'll look good on the side of a shoe, and it needs to be different from Adidas. Oh, and one more thing. We need it fast, like really fast. We have production deadlines." Davidson looked at the tight timeline and thought, well, this should be fun. She went home and got to work. She laid tissue paper over sketches of shoes and started drawing. Curves, lines, shapes, anything that suggested motion and speed. Davidson worked on the logo for weeks. She honestly doesn't remember exactly how long, but she billed Knight for 17.5 hours of work. When the deadline arrived, Davidson walked into Knight's office with 5 different designs. 5 options for what could become the face of his company. Knight looked at them. His business partners looked at them. They discussed. They debated. Nobody loved any of them, but they were out of time. The factory in Mexico needed a design immediately or they'd miss their production window. Knight pointed to one design, the swoosh, a simple curved check mark, fluid, dynamic. It suggested motion without being complicated. "Well, I don't love it," Knight told Davidson, "but maybe it will grow on me." Not exactly a ringing endorsement, Davidson asked if she could refine it more, make it better, polish it. "No time," Knight said. "We need it now, just send it to the factory." So she did. Then she sent Knight an invoice. How much should she charge for creating what could become an iconic brand symbol? She had no idea. She'd never done anything like this before, so she charged her hourly rate, $2 an hour, times 17.5 hours. The invoice total, $35. Knight paid it without hesitation. $35. Done. The swoosh, though it wasn't called that yet, was rushed to Mexico. Production began, and in June 1971, the first Nike shoes with Davidson's stripe hit the market. Davidson kept working for Blue Ribbon Sports, which became Nike in 1972. But as Nike grew, the design work got bigger, more complex. In 1975, Nike hired a major advertising agency. Davidson moved on to other projects, other clients, and the world forgot about her. The swoosh appeared on more and more products, It showed up in the 1972 Olympics. It was on the feet of legendary athletes. It became one of the most recognizable symbols on Earth, but nobody knew who designed it. Nike became a billion-dollar company. The swoosh became priceless. And Caroline Davidson, she was still a graphic designer living quietly in Portland, working on other projects, living a normal life. For 12 years, that $35 payment was all she ever got for creating one of the most valuable logos in history. The world had no idea the swoosh was designed by a broke college student for the price of a decent dinner. Phil Knight, though, he never forgot. September 1983, 12 years after the swoosh launched, Caroline Davidson received a mysterious invitation. Nike wanted her to attend a company lunch. She showed up curious. The room was full of Nike executives. Everyone was smiling. What was going on? Then Phil Knight stood up. "Caroline," he said, "we invited you here because we realized something. We got a pretty good bargain 12 years ago. $35 for a logo that built this entire company. That doesn't seem quite right." The executives brought out trays. On them, chocolate swooshes. Custom-made chocolate in the shape of her design. Then Knight presented her with a ring, engraved with a swoosh. And then the big reveal. An envelope. Inside, Nike stock, 500 shares. Now, 500 shares might not sound like much. But remember, this was 1983. Nike had gone public in 1980. Considering Nike's multiple stock splits by 2015, those 500 shares became 32,000 shares, meaning those shares would have worth over $1 million by that time. Knight later said, "This was something special to do because she originally billed us and we paid that invoice, but we wanted to thank her properly." Davidson lives comfortably, not extravagantly, but well. She volunteers. She stays out of the spotlight. She's known in design circles as the logo lady, but she's never sought fame. She just designed something she thought looked nice, and it changed the world. So what's the lesson here? First, know your worth and trust the process. Caroline Davidson charged $35 for a logo that would become worth billions. Was it undervalued? By today's standards, absolutely. But she was a broke student and starting her career. She charged what felt honest, her hourly rate for the work she did. What matters is what happened next. She did great work, built trust, and started a real professional relationship. 12 years later, Phil Knight recognized her efforts and appreciated appropriately. Do exceptional work, build genuine relationships, and trust that good people will make things right. Second, small jobs can lead to big things. Davidson took a $2 an hour gig making charts because she needed art supplies. That side hustle led to creating the swoosh. Third, great design doesn't need to be complicated. Swoosh was rushed. It was simple, and it became iconic. And finally, good people remember. Phil Knight could have paid $35 and walked away. Legally, he owed Davidson nothing more. But 12 years later, he made it right, because that's what good people do. The swoosh isn't just a logo. It's a reminder that great things often start small, that creativity has value, even when you don't know it yet. Caroline Davidson walked into an office in 1971 with 5 sketches and walked out with $35. Today, that swoosh is everywhere. On shoes, on shirts, on billboards, in stadiums, on the greatest athletes in history. Not bad for a broke art student who just needed money for oil paints. Remember, every fortune has a story, and every story has a lesson. What other money stories should we cover? Drop your suggestions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time.